My biggest question with the Spornia SPG 7 net is whether it would save me if I shanked one. So I bought one for myself to find out. They retail for around £360 in the UK or $290 in the US, and I even bought the additional side protection nets for an extra £39. And while practicing with the net, I did shank a shot, and it didn't save me. I'll explain why the net didn't save me shortly. I've been practicing with the net loads in my garden, and I've been able to compare it against the Forb ProFlex net, which is a net that I've bought and reviewed previously. There's a lot to like about the Spornia. I can see why it's so highly regarded. In fact, there are 3 things that I absolutely love about the net, but there's also 3 things that I'm not so keen on, and I've decided that it's not the right net for me. If at any point you find this video helpful, please smash the like button and let's crack on. To get better at golf, you have to put the time and effort into practice. And a golf net can be a great way to practice in the convenience of your own home. So you don't want it to be an effort when it comes to moving a golf net around, setting it up, putting it down, and then storing it again. For the most part, the Spornia is great in this department. If you've ever used a pop-up tent, then it's of a similar kind of design. Although, if you've ever used a pop-up tent, you know that they can be a bit of a pain to figure out actually how to collapse it down and get it back into that neat little circle. As you can see here, my first time with the net took me quite a while to actually figure out how to put the blooming thing down after I've been practicing with it. However, after a few times and I had a little bit more practice at it, I found it actually pretty easy and quick to collapse back down. Moving the net around is nice and easy. It comes with this circular bag. Yes, the bag is pretty big, but it's not particularly heavy, only a couple of kilograms I'd probably say, and it has a big shoulder strap so you can just sling it over your shoulder and walk it out. I think it actually looks quite fashionable. In terms of putting it up, it is really quite simple. As soon as you actually unfold it, it just springs into life. And then all you need to do is take the poles, which are kind of like tent poles really. Then you install 1 pole on each side. And then to get some added height protection, all you then do is connect a whole series of thinner poles together and thread that through the top. It can be a little bit fiddly to do, but overall you can see here that actually once I got used to it, it takes no more than a few minutes to set it up completely. Once it's all set up and ready to go, another thing that I really like with this unit is just the overall quality of it. The nets feel like they're going to be plenty strong enough to use for multiple times, and if you look after it well enough, I think it's going to serve you for years to come. The impact screen feels thick enough and again of a good enough quality, and from kind of interacting with it on several occasions, all the little loops and buckles feel pretty well put together as well. You can choose not to set up the additional top extension if you so wish, but personally I'd always rather have that extra level of protection, and I'd want to go as high as possible with it, so that gives you another extra foot or 2 up the top. The unit also has a net that slopes towards you, which you don't need to set up. That is just part of the automatic pop-up procedure, I suppose you'd call it. And that means that when you hit your ball, for the majority of the time, your ball will kind of return to the front. Again, a nice feature, saves you having to kind of go back and get all of your balls from the back of the net. When I bought the net, I also got a code, which meant that I could get a free online lesson with a PGA coach. Now, I don't know whether that's a limited time offer or if that's something that you just get every time you buy a Spornia, but that was a nice extra added throw-in. The third main thing that I really like with the net is its versatility. Now that's due to a few reasons. First of all, the fact that it is so portable. You can, if you really wanted to, throw it in the back of your car and take it to your friends, or take it to your golf club, or take it to work, or wherever you want to take it really. But as well as using the net to just practice your iron shots, you can actually use it to practice your chipping as well. It comes with a kind of target bucket net that you connect really easy in 4 corners of the unit, and then it gives you a few little targets to practice your chipping in. Now I actually quite like using this feature, setting the net down at one end of my garden and then chipping from the other end. In terms of using the net to practice your shots, you can be practicing your chipping, your approach shots, your full irons, your hybrids. You can even practice your drives if you want to, although personally I just wouldn't trust myself to do that. I've got a lot of houses around me in my surrounding area, and we'll speak more about that in a minute. One other point when it comes to versatility is that you can actually buy a projector net to go on the back and then use the net as part of your home simulator setup. I mentioned that there were 3 things that I'm not that keen on with the net, and the first one is the price. At £360 in the UK, that is quite a lot of money for a 7-foot by 7-foot net. By comparison, the Forb ProFlex is £280, so that's £80 cheaper, and that's an 8-foot by 8-foot net. And in some way, I prefer the design of the full ProFlex because it just has a straight up and sides kind of square cage to it, rather than the slanted sides and the slanted rear that you get with the Spornia. Spornia do a bigger version. They do an 8-foot by 8-foot version. And in the UK, that's £560, and in the US, it's $499. So now we're talking some pretty premium money for this golf net. Now it does feel like a premium product, so I'm not saying that it's bad value for money, I'm just saying that it is quite a lot of money for something like this. And to be honest, for me, if I'm spending that kind of money, then I want to have the confidence that I can use it for all of my practice in my garden, for every single type of shot that I hit. And at the moment, I'm not quite there with that. The second thing I'm not particularly keen on is if you are planning to use it as part of your home simulator setup. Now, the website has images of people using it in their home with the projector screen and a launch monitor beside them, and I believe that it can work really, really well in the right setup. However, for me, I was using the Garmin Approach R10, which is a Doppler system which has to sit behind the player. Now, with that system, I need around 8 to 9 feet from the ball to the net. Now, unfortunately, because of the way the net kind of slopes up at the rear, I haven't got as much room as I would like in order to trust that I'm getting the best shot reading data from the launch monitor. Now, of course, I could always just move myself back from the net to make sure that I've got enough room for when I hit the ball. However, that greatly increases the chances of actually the ball missing the net if I miscue a shot. I'm a 17 handicap, I can easily miscue a shot. The houses behind my garden are only around 100 yards away. I can easily clear it into probably the next street or 2 streets if I completely miss the net. And that brings me on to my third kind of issue with the net, and that's what I'll call its shankability. Now, I'm not saying that this unit is prone to missing shots. That's not what I'm saying at all. I used it plenty of times initially and I didn't have any problems whatsoever. However, I did shank a ball when I was working on a new swing technique, and it did completely go through the extra side protection net that I had, missed the net, and went into a neighbour's garden. Now, that could have been really bad. Thankfully, it was just a very gentle practice shot because I was just going through slow motion and working on a new swing feeling, so it just kind of trickled over and banged into their rear fence. But that has put a doubt in my mind with the net. I'm just editing this video now, and I thought actually you might want to see some evidence of a different golfer that's used the Spornia net and completely missed it. So I was looking on Instagram and I found a couple of reels from an Instagram golfer called Keeks Golf, and she uses her Spornia net to make a lot of content and practice her swing with. But she's posted 2 separate reels where she's used the net and completely missed the net with the ball. One time I think she looks like she shanked it, and another time it just looks like she just clean misses the net on the right hand side. So I'm not saying that the Spornia net is at fault for any of these, but it just goes to show that it's certainly not impossible to miss the net. Now, could I have set the side nets up a little bit tighter to stop there from being such a gaping hole? Yeah, I probably could have done, but having used it again since, even when I set it up with the protection net on the inside, I still kind of had a pretty sizable gap at the top that I couldn't really see any way to close up. That could totally be user error, and so I'll put my hands up if that's the case. And just to note, that was with me lining the golf ball up not to the right-hand side of the net, where a lot of people would naturally line it up, but actually lining it up in the middle of the net to give me the most protection either way. As you can see here, without the additional side protection nets, the sides of the Spornia are quite sloped. So when you compare it to the full ProFlex, which is more just like a square cage in front of you, I feel that I have some additional protection with the full compared to the Spornia. Now, you might be watching this video thinking, Kevin, that's obvious, you should not be trusting a net like this or any other golf net in that situation. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right, I shouldn't be. But I think it's important to share that just because there could be other people in the same situation as me looking to spend quite a lot of money on a golf net, and maybe it's not quite the right choice for that situation. Now, if you are a golfer that doesn't worry about shanks whatsoever, or you've got plenty of space around you so that a shank doesn't even really matter, then I think you've got nothing to worry about with this net. But for me, where I live in a very built up residential area with houses all the way around me, it just gets me a little bit nervous. And I've decided that when it comes to practice nets, I actually want a full-blown dedicated cage because I want a 0% chance of that ball escaping the practice net. Does that net actually exist? I'm not entirely sure. I've seen one on Costco for around £350, but that says that it's going to take about 30 minutes to put up that net. And that brings me back to the original point I made in this video, where a big part of having a golf net is the ease of setting it up and put it back down again. If it's a pain in the backside to do, you're just probably not going to use it. If after watching this video you've decided that this is the right golf net for you, then I have included any affiliate links down in the description below, along with any discounts so you can hopefully pick it up for less than retail price. If you're the type of golfer that loves picking up a bargain, then make sure you sign up to my free monthly golf deals newsletter. Again, the links are down in the description. And for those of you that are in the market for a new golf net and you've heard me talk about the full ProFlex, then you can check out my full review of that net right here.